But you're right, that could entirely be manipulation.
It could be fake. I don't know.
This comment for sure changed my perspective because I was fully in like oh, that's so sweet. Like I was completely in La La Land.
Hi. Welcome to Memory Ash.
I'm Ashley.
I'm Mitch.
We hit 1,000 subscribers today.
Yeah. Oh man, that's crazy. Anyway, we hit 1,000, and it's mostly because of all you that are clicking on this video and have looked at all of our Love Is Blind. Like we got a lot of traction from Golden Bachelor, but a lot of those people like never came back. It was kind of like a flashpoint, but people have been like amazing, supportive, and just like super great to talk to in regard to the Love Is Blind stuff. And y'all have allowed us to feel like confident putting a video out every single day. It's been amazing.
Yeah, it's been super cool. And the comment sections have been like top notch. Kind of wild, honestly.
Somebody called us YouTubers, which I need everybody to understand. So nice. The context for us is we've been doing this for 6 months. And I, like a month ago, I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. Maybe it's a year out and we can like monetize. And now we're able to. I did want to say we're going to put out a 1K Q&A. So if you have any questions for us, we're probably going to put that out like Monday or Tuesday. This is coming out on a Sunday. If you have any questions for us, you can drop those in the comments. Otherwise, we're going to post up just like some general information about ourselves and like interesting facts maybe, and then prompt people for questions in the comments.
Otherwise, you just can get whatever random shit we want to tell you.
We got a lot of weird stuff. What we're actually doing here today is we're going through the comment section from episodes mostly 1 through 7, but really like 1 through 9 of season 6 of Love Is Blind. And there are a couple of really big points here. I just want to say there are going to be like some trigger warnings here. We're going to be talking about eating disorders. We're going to be talking about objectification and fetishization of Black female bodies. This is your comments that people wanted to share stuff, and a lot of you gave consent to project it. So we're projecting your voices is what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I think you and I talked about the fact that like it was pretty clear that a lot of people were doing a lot of like labor in educating people in the comments, and you know, people that are watching the videos are only seeing that if they're clicking through the comments, but some of the things that are going on in there and some of the conversations are really important. There are also places where we just straight miss stuff, or we needed a fact check for a couple of things, so want to make sure that we're clarifying those things, and then also kind of explaining where some of the conversations in the comments led us to either gain a deeper understanding of some of the issues that got brought up through these initial Love Is Blind episodes, or just changed our opinions entirely.
Well, you're good at that. I can tell you do this in like work meetings regularly. I'm a little awkward because I'm like thinking like usually it's a totally different vibe. Do you want?
You got your cup though.
I know. I got my cup.
You're okay. You got your safety cup.
My safety blanket.
So the first thing is a very light thing, but it is something that I just straight is the fact that I got incorrect, which really frustrates me, even though like I absolutely love to like preach an ethos of accountability. If I get a fact wrong, I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah.
You know, and I did. So, and that is, I said that Megan Fox had said that she agreed with that Chelsea looked like her, and that is incorrect. And thank you to the person who corrected it. It was Julia Fox who said it, not Megan Fox. Okay.
It's a small thing, but it's like a fact,
so
a very quick fact check.
It changes quite a bit for me personally.
Well, and you felt like you got duped by page 6 because it was like, I think it was like a clickbaity thing. Like who cares really? Nobody.
Who cares what Julia Fox thinks? Why is that even news? Why did they report that if it wasn't Megan Fox?
Yeah, but they knew that people would just see the Fox and click. So a different Fox said this other person looked like Megan Fox.
They knew that like my brain would make the connection and make me think that it was Megan Fox when it was Julia Fox all along. Julia Fox is fine, but like I don't really care what she thinks about whether or not Megan Fox and Chelsea look like. I care what Megan Fox thinks. Anyway, so that's wrong. It was Julia Fox. So sorry to disappoint all of you who are very, very excited about that, but I was just dead wrong.
Yep. That's number 1. Number 2, well, some of this is going to get more into the TV show.
So first thing we're going to address is the Chelsea, Jimmy, Jess dynamic, starting with Chelsea, right?
Chelsea, yes.
Chelsea.
Tashenkas has, I don't know how to pronounce that, sorry if I messed that up, left us this comment. So we don't know what it's like in the dating world, and we mostly know about each other. Although I think at times you or I have had unhealthy attachment styles. So I think and I actually saw tons of people saying this used to be me. And I just want to clarify before we go into this sort of like Chelsea deep dive that a lot of people I think are sympathetic towards her for good reason because it sucks the position that she's in, but also the attachment style that she seems to have is unhealthy for a lot of people, especially in a relationship.
Yeah.
So our perspective of Chelsea changed pretty dramatically reading comments from episode to episode.
I will say too, I caught some heat, some light heat. I mean, I say heat pretty. It was, I don't know, it was just a little toasty when initially we were looking at Jimmy and Chelsea and people were saying we weren't hard enough on Jimmy in some of the first episodes, and some of it was exactly what Tashenkas is saying in this comment, which is that she was blaming him for a lot of her feelings. And specifically, I remember first seeing this on the honeymoon when they came back from his interaction with AD. Chelsea was really upset with him. And I think kind of both of our comments in that was she can't really, she can have feelings, but to blame him for her feelings or to blame him for her lack of confidence doesn't really seem fair. And that I think is along the same lines of this, which I actually completely agree with these things.
Well, so the Tashenkas talks about how that attachment style can lead to passive aggressive tendencies, tiny manipulations. We see that on film left and right. It's probably a textbook case, although I'm not a psychologist and I don't know, and I also don't understand relationship attachments. Is we talk about stuff, but we're not professionals in this field. I do still find some of those last lines relevant, even though a lot of us know what's going on here that makes it inaccurate. Insecure attachment style drove her from Trevor that seemed like, and I'm going to say seemed like a secure attachment to Jimmy, who was pretty transparently not a secure attachment and kind of wishy-washy. I still think that holds because Trevor could be a liar, but the way he presented in there and whatever we were shown still presented as a secure attachment versus Jimmy.
We also will probably be doing another video where we talk about some of the information that's come out about Trevor and Jeremy. So if you want in the future, we'll be talking about that, but we won't talk about it now.
Yeah, we're just gonna kind of leave the gossip, even though it's a lot of it's proven. We're gonna
so
kind of leave
receipts.
it out to something else. Yeah, I thought this is interesting. Melavara, kind of piggybacking off that last comment, I think is another bit of that. She latches on to this, almost a why does she latch on to that insecure attachment? It's that crumb of validation being disproportionately huge, and I thought that was a really interesting idea. It's she's getting nothing, she's getting nothing, she's getting nothing. She wants something, and at the moment that he's I'm falling for you, Chelsea, and then suddenly she's just in 100%.
Yeah, I also agree with the end of this comment, which is that she's now feeling very anxious, which is all just going to turn into a spiral of awful. And I agree. I don't think it's going to work out particularly well. And you even see that kind of later in the more recent episodes, kind of 7 through 9. He can be doing everything right, and she is still upset. He met her friends. He did a great job. He was showing her affection during the day, but in her mind, nothing had happened.
I'm actually willing to give her the benefit of the doubt and think that maybe she really doesn't think things happen. She's kind of seemingly lying. It's confusing, and I can't read people's minds. So
I don't know if you would agree with this, but I think both of us at times have suffered from insecure attachment issues.
I agree.
And it really does mess with your mind.
Yeah.
From my own personal experience, which is obviously going to look a lot different from what Chelsea is experiencing because the situations are different. You really just you don't even register the positive things. It's that saying, I don't know what exactly it is, but where they're there could be 100 positive things that someone says and one negative, and you're going to focus on the negative. And it almost feels like insecure attachment is that all the time with your partner. And it can be so destructive because you really, truly don't remember. I believe her that she didn't remember that he kissed her. She felt like she hadn't been kissed all day.
Yeah.
But he had been doing those things. It just wasn't enough to
because nothing's ever going to be enough.
Right. Yeah. And I also agree that that's not, he can't fix that for her. That's not fair to put on a partner, and that's not something that he's going to be able to fix. even if he were doing everything perfectly, it's not going to be enough because of the problems that she's having with self-confidence and insecurity.
Yeah. So this next person I think would give us permission, but I didn't explicitly get permission from them. So we're just going to read their comment. I still thought it was like really valuable to this conversation, anonymously. So.
I think you and I had talked about this separately too. So I think it's interesting because we're watching this show and our initial reactions are what's immediately coming out of our mouth. But then later you and I will talk and we'll be like, oh, that thing, what do you think about that? Or how do you feel?
I may have brought this up because I read this comment though. So I want to clarify. I
brought this up.
Oh, you brought this up?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then you told me you were like, other people in the comments have said that exactly. Because I maintain that despite the taquito incident, okay, which I really do like and I do think is interesting. Jimmy is pretty bland as a human being. And I completely agree with the couple of people that are talking about the fact that I think that competitive element where there are two women that are interested in him and they're kind of like vying for his attentions are making him seem more valuable than he would be if there wasn't that competitive element.
It's a resource scarcity, of mediocre men. That's basically what the show is. Mediocre or terrible. Right. He's mediocre, actually, at this point, maybe. Yeah.
It's just because there are other people that are actually horrible, but he's mediocre. But then they're both they're these beautiful, accomplished women that are just fighting for this man that is not great. Yeah. And it's kind of infuriating to watch, but it's they each feel like they have to win, you know? Yeah. And this Tashenka describes it, and I think this is perfect, as a bidding match. Yeah. Which is so
attractive to the voice.
Spot on. It's they're at an auction, and they're each going higher and higher. Not that they actually want to pay that much for what they're getting, but they're just egged on by it.
And that comment is the one. This is the one I was looking for, and I actually didn't realize I clipped this because it's at the end of the comment. But that the one saw the chance of a lifetime to steal a boy from the hottest girl in school. Yeah. They knew each other on the other side of the pods, and they were both vying for one person. They knew they were, and it's winning. You know what I mean? There's potentially that element there too, right? And then not wanting to let go of it and feeling insecure because you know that you're winning this for now, but she also knows the show and she knows that Jess is coming around the corner.
Right. Well, and I think both of them felt his insecurity kind of through the walls. So then it's literally Chelsea's moving into this with even more insecurity than she might normally have because she knows as soon as he sees Jessica, she's not sure what choice he's going to make.
Yeah, yeah. And
which is terrifying.
That's a really bad position to be in. This one from Ebony Vaughn is in the same realm of that competition too. And I think some other people commented on it, but this just summarized it so perfectly. Jessica should have never given Jimmy that letter without a clear commitment from him. She was being manipulative and trying to passive aggressively force his hand. When we watched it the first time, I was way more in Jessica's camp. I've already said this in one of our other videos, but this is absolutely right. That there's no earthly world where that letter should have gone to somebody's hand that she wasn't sure was picking her. No. That's pretty wild. No. I actually question, is that really a letter? I don't know, maybe that's a bit out there, but did she really write a letter 10 years ago that she was going to give to her future husband? A lot of people write stuff like
that, but you're right, that could entirely be manipulation.
It could be fake. I don't know.
This comment for sure changed my perspective because I was fully in that's so sweet. I was completely in La La Land, but this comment from Ebony Vaughn completely changed my mind. I was like, wow, that was manipulative. Yeah. In hindsight, she knew that he was trying to pick between two people and she was encouraging him to continue with both of them and make a choice, and then she gave him this thing that was really only meant for the person that she was going to be with. It would have been way more appropriate to give that to him when they got engaged and have him read that on the honeymoon or something, but to do that before he had made his choice and then to get mad at him almost immediately for not responding the way that she wanted.
Flip on that. I get it sucks, but you're putting somebody in a position where they have to do what you want or they're going to come off rude. Yeah. And he wasn't willing to do what you wanted. Yeah. And that's the manipulation, right? My perspective on Jessica has shifted since then, but I stand by all my comments I've made about Jimmy up until this point. I'm kind of prepared for his him to be okay.
Redemption arc.
I was almost going to say redemption arc. I don't know about redemption, but him to be okay. I mean, just not hate him at the end of this. Yeah. All right. So this person actually gave me my name, but when I was so I'm going to apologize. It's really hard doing this organizationally, and I need to find a better way to do it. So this person's username I'm not going to read out, but I really appreciate you giving this comment and
name here.
Exactly. There we go.
Name here.
That's their name. I saw this over and over again. I think the crux of this is the using the Megan Fox as a Hail Mary, kind of like the Megan Fox for Chelsea was the note with Jess. They both had a super weapon, and one interestingly used like an emotional manipulation, and then other one used a physical appearance manipulation. And this person, like I said, quite a few have said, is saying that it was intentional and not that much of an accident. I'm willing to entertain it.
Hear that, and I will say this. I read, so obviously Chelsea's been getting like kind of beaten up like publicly for this, because a lot of people feel like she doesn't really look like Megan Fox, right? And so she talked to some like news outlet and gave some additional context around the way the conversation went that to me makes it feel like this was not necessarily like a tool of manipulation. So essentially she said that the way it went, so it was like edited down from a larger conversation wherein Jimmy started the conversation, which makes a lot of sense to me.
You told me about this.
Because he's superficial as and he started the conversation basically saying he looked like some football player, like sports, I don't know, whatever. I'm not into sports. Some sports person.
Sports ball player.
And she didn't know who that was. So she said, "Oh, I don't know who that is." And he said, "Who is your celebrity lookalike?" And she actually gave 3. She said Adele,
which I've seen many other people actually say she looks kind of like Adele.
Adele, Katy Perry, which I can also see, and it's the light eyes, dark hair again, and then huge boobs, and then Megan Fox. And they clipped it so it looked like she just said Megan Fox, and he clung to Megan Fox because to him, of the 3,
that was
the best looking one. I don't think, like, maybe that would have been a tool to get him to pick her over Jessica, but that just creates more drama and more heartache for her later. I don't think that she was trying, and I think that's why she walked it back too, because I think she said it, he got real excited about Megan Fox, and then ignored the Adele and Katy Perry and just hit on oh, you look like Megan Fox. And then I think that's why she was like, wait. That's my personal opinion. But I can definitely see this, and maybe this is true, because sometimes I tend to give people the benefit of the doubt where they don't deserve it. Yeah. So.
Well, also, I think this was going around before you saw that, like, interview or whatever. And
also that interview could be false. Like, who knows?
She already lied about it. Well, potentially is lying about how many times Jimmy's kissing her.
Sure.
You know? So, but also you can still do something like that and it be manipulative. I just put this out there. Like, I saw, and this is part of the reason I'm putting this up here is because it's an example of a lot of people saying that.
Yeah.
And it did sort of like kind of change the way I was looking at this. Is this part of that, like, Chelsea's behavior? Like, how much of it is like this sort of unhealthy trying to get somebody, and not enough of like honest, like, healthy, like, communication. Absolutely. This is still about the Chelsea stuff, but we ended up talking about this in the car a little bit. But Lola Rabbit says calling a person clingy is not rude if it's a fact, and so but maybe mean. So I'm actually kind of curious how people feel about that idea of like rude and mean kind of being different things, and I could see like sort of differences there, but. What I would say, and the thing I kind of came to recently was like, sometimes it's like diplomatic versus non-diplomatic. Like, should you have to be diplomatic? I don't know. If you want a certain outcome, maybe you ought to be, but then, there's potential like ideas of like manipulation and like diplomacy and stuff like that. So, I mean, she was being clingy. You thought so. She did bring it up later on in almost a playful manner. And she wasn't like long-term hurt by it.
Yeah. She was whining him pretty hard.
She was whining him so hard.
It was rough. Like, listen, I'm not saying I would do better than him. Like, I also probably would have thrown in like a passive-aggressive/aggressive comment to her about her being clingy in that kind of a situation, but I just don't think it was the best time for him. I don't think he was gonna get the best reaction in that moment, and he didn't. Yeah. But also, like, if you're dealing with someone that's constantly doing that kind of crap to you, I don't know that there's an expectation that you respond correct every time. Like, there's no way for you to do that if you're constantly being put in these positions, like Lola Rabbit's talking about, where she's barely letting him speak.
And that's absolutely right. You go back to that, and she's like, no, I want you to listen to me. I want you to do what I want to say, or what I want, basically. She was controlling that argument, and it came out of nowhere. Well, not out of nowhere. It didn't come out of nowhere, but it was weird.
Well, and what argument was it? I can't remember which one it was, but I think it might have been the clingy argument where she left a pause and then he started talking and then she's like, I'm not done yet.
Yeah.
And it's like, when are you done then? Like, how are you supposed to know that you're done? Because you paused. Like, you were done. In my opinion, you paused, you're done.
I kind of joke, I think, that like between us, we don't leave pauses like that. And if we have a pause that's like literally like 1 second long, the other person has an opportunity to come in.
Sure.
And if you wanted to finish your thought, at that point, it's like you should politely ask. You'd be like, oh, can I finish real quick?
Right.
Like, but like, I wasn't done yet. That's a fight starting like element right there for us.
And she seemed like the thought seemed done too. Like, there are times when people take a pause and you know that they're still thinking, they're looking for the word, they're like trying to finish their thought, whatever. She seemed pretty done. She just didn't want to listen to him. She wanted him to shut up.
And I think sometimes what people do to control conversation is say the same thing over and over again, or maybe in a slightly different like way.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe she did want to say more, but maybe she already said her idea and she's just going to talk. I don't know. No, that happens.
I think the other part of this that stands out to me is Jess and Laura are mean girls, and I completely agree. I'm convinced that Jess just wants camera time. Completely agree. And I really didn't feel that way in the pods. Like, I liked her a lot more, honestly, than after seeing some of the more recent episodes. Like, I'm mad at myself for liking her.
I think a lot of people are mad at themselves for liking almost anybody on the season, honestly, because I was going back through the comments and I saw these people like, oh, Trevor, right. And I was like, oh. You know, even the comments about Jeremy, I was like, Jeremy did a good job of handling that situation with the bean dip, and I'm like, okay, I don't know.
I feel like I see more red flags in the way that Jess was interacting with Jimmy.
I
And
agree.
Even though I think she got a pretty good edit, I think
there's still things you can see there.
There are red flags that I can see now that for whatever reason I was just not having when it was going the first time.
It's the honeymoon phase at the beginning of Love is Blind. They treat you like a relationship in this show where they're like, hey, this is great. And then suddenly it's just like flying everywhere.
I know.
I also think Lola Rabbit at this last sentence here, I 100% agree. We're not going to talk about it on this episode, but like it kind of is starting to feel like Love is Blind is imploding on itself.
Yeah.
And that's all I want to say for now. But like on our next episode, we'll talk maybe a little bit more about that.
Yeah, because we'll talk about like I guess the ongoing drama and then what that means for Love is Blind. Okay,
right, so we're moving on to Clay. Clay's a fun one.
Listen, people are not going to agree with me, and that's okay. I don't feel the negativity for Clay that other people feel, but I will admit that some of these things are messed up, and we'll go through the comments, but I'm not going to be wholesale. I wholesale changed my opinion of Jess. Mm-hmm. I will not be wholesale changing my opinion about Clay, and I'm sorry.
We're kind of holding out on our Clay opinion, and I feel like I'm standing pretty comfortable in that too.
So Tabia9254, this is an interesting perspective that I've also read on like Reddits, and I think this is kind of funny, but that Clay may have been trying to sign up for a different Netflix show or like a different show entirely and then ended up on Love is Blind because he seems like emotionally and mentally he's more in a space to be on something like Too Hot to Handle than he is to be on Love is Blind. And a couple of things that they cite for evidence for this is that he doesn't know anything about weddings. Like he didn't even know like when you get rings, which is so weird to me. Like, have you never been to any wedding ever?
Maybe.
Like you just don't know anything about like ring custom.
But it's weird how like oblivious to everything he is. He doesn't watch the show. Which I actually think is a benefit to him, where like he isn't as fake as some of the other people because he doesn't understand what he's getting himself into.
Yeah, and then they're saying because he didn't expect to like actually fall for someone in the pods. I think this is just my opinion, but I think him not expecting to fall for someone and then the superficiality that he shows, I do think that both of those are defense mechanisms. That feels to me like he's trying to protect himself. He doesn't want to look stupid. He had like a conversation with AD at one point in the pods that seemed pretty genuine and vulnerable where he was telling her that he had some times where he felt like he was falling pretty deep for someone and they had not reciprocated the feelings and that was incredibly hurtful for him.
Yeah.
And I think some of the things that he does are like protective, which doesn't make them any less toxic for the people around him.
Yeah, so that's like that kind of reminds me of the Chelsea thing though. Like I don't hate Clay, and I don't think a lot of people hate Clay, but they're like he's more dangerous than you think as far as a relationship goes. Yeah. But I don't hate him because it's like he's got some wounds, but that doesn't mean that he's easy to be in a relationship. Or certainly AD shouldn't be with him because it's like a pattern that she does. But I there are a lot of qualities I like in Clay. The thing I was thinking of before before was that some people are like Clay's an F boy, and that kind of goes in like hard, like you don't know what it's like dating F boys, and it's true, we don't know what it's like dating F boys.
That's fair.
And that's like what Tashenkos is saying. Like, we've been in a relationship for 20 years.
Right.
We don't know what dating's like, and we don't know what it's like being a woman dating a guy like this. So I'm just gonna go ahead and throw that out. So our perspective is like, I don't hate the guy. He seems kind of endearing in ways, and some of you are like he's like, you know, that would be a lot, right?
I think for me, he's like the definition of like, when people tell you who they are, believe them. Like, he is telling you like, red flag, red flag, red flag. Like, in my opinion, run. And like, I believe that. I'm not like pulling for him in AD.
I don't even know why AD's still there.
I don't think he's as slimy. To me, his behavior is not as slimy as someone that would lie about it. And then, you know, like, you would be completely blindsided by. Because you're not going to be blindsided. If Clay cheats on someone, we're all expecting it. Yeah. Do you know? Like, you're not going to be blindsided by that.
Yeah. All right, Pretty Mesmerizing shared this comment about Clay and how damaging that comment about it, like the controlling comments about AD's body can be.
Yeah.
And I think this is really important.
Yeah.
Honestly. And I really appreciate Pretty Mesmerizing for talking about this.
I was just going to read. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead and read it.
Okay, so what Clay said about fitness could be really triggering to some. I had an ED and still put a lot of pressure on myself in terms of what and how much I eat. If during/after pregnancy, my partner would be pushing me to get fit, it could cause an ED relapse, especially with the lack of sleep, recovery, hormonal changes. A good man would support his woman unconditionally, not add pressure. It would be a huge red flag for me.
I think when we talk about Clay being okay, that's under the condition of understanding that behavior is abusive and controlling.
Yeah, I'm not okay at all with the comments that he made about AD's body.
Or like what he would do, like if she gained weight, like he can leave, but he can't tell her what to do with her body. That's a big thing where I stand by.
Yeah. And I think the comments about how this could affect someone with an ED are like very important to consider in that. Because I don't suffer from issues like that, and I know that would put me in a rough spot. I cannot imagine what it would be like if you had a partner like that and you had suffered from an ED. And he doesn't know AD well enough to know if she's ever had issues like that before. She shared with him that she has to count calories and she has to be very intentional.
She works really hard
to have the body that she has.
I wouldn't say she has one, and we have no indication of that, but like, you don't know what people are going through if they don't share it with you.
Yeah, he doesn't know enough about her to know that. And even if she doesn't have something like that, it just is really, really terrible behavior to think that you have that much ownership over someone's body. Yeah. And that you're going to have that much control over their body, especially when she brought up pregnancy.
Yeah, that is...
Like, come on.
That is wild.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, he needs to...
Okay. So we're going to talk about Kenneth and Britney next.
Yes.
I liked them a lot at first, and I did not see the red flags at all. And some people, I did sort of. We were when they were on the boat. We were like, this is kind of weird. Are they like?
It's so tough to tell though if it's like editing. Yeah. Like, are they editing it weird or is it weird?
That's the hard thing is you can't trust the edit.
No, you can't. And it's like sometimes they'll put like happy music behind it, and you're like, oh, it's happy. You know what I mean? Like there's so much of that. So when there's no music at all, it's like, what is even happening? Yeah. You know?
Yeah. I think we've already shared one of Lola Rabbit's comments, but here's another one talking about the Kenneth Britney situation, and in particular, like, so there's a lot of differing opinions on whether or not it's appropriate for AD to talk to Kenneth about like the potential race issues in his relationship. And I'm not going to get into that. Like they're in the comment section. I'm sure lots of people have feelings about it, but I thought this comment was really interesting. I think Lola Rabbit hits it the nail on the head with the idea that if he was deterred by AD coming up and saying something, and that some people are like, this is the turning point. Maybe it was. If that was the turning point when AD had the conversation with him, like it would have happened instantaneously anyway. This relationship was never, it was doomed from the start, basically. Yeah, absolutely. Because it was all in his head too. I've seen pretty much nothing but positive comments about Britney. Kenneth isn't horrible except the way he broke up with her, it seems. But like it seemed like Britney was fully invested and Kenneth was just totally checked out the entire time.
Yeah. Yeah, it was tough. It was tough watching him. Like, I could definitely see the kind of decay of their relationship after AD talked to him, but I completely agree. If that was all it took, there's no way that it would have worked in the real world.
Yeah.
There's no way. They wouldn't have gotten through one conversation with one of his friends or family members.
I know. And that's why we didn't see it.
Right.
Because he was like, he just wasn't prepared to deal with it, which is, it's kind of like a cop-out. It almost feels like it's he's allowed to walk, but like whatever. And you know, the most frustrating part about this, and it's what we've been told over and over and over again in the comments, is that we missed a couple of the key points in the conversation that he had with her, where he basically just treated her like garbage until he came up with an excuse to break up with her. He's like, make me dinner. I'm going to stare at my phone. I'm not going to spend any time with you. I'm going to come at 1 a.m., turn on the big light, and like pretend that that's me being affectionate. And then when she's like, hey, I think we should work on a relationship, he just turned it all on her, said, no, you're the one that's not interested, grabbed his already packed bags and left. And it was like so garbage. A lot of that we did miss, and because we were talking, and a lot of that was like this like weird low key. We couldn't quite tell what the emotional like situation was there because we missed like the beginning of the conversation, I think.
I also think like for me, I was not expecting. We could tell that like something they were having some off conversations and some off interactions since that boat scene on the honeymoon, but I in no way expected it to end up in them straight up breaking up in such a like lackluster way, to be honest, and really with him feeling like he was fully prepared to go. I in no way expected that. Yeah. And it was weird watching it through. Like, I think even when we have like the film of us reacting to it, it's like us being like, what's happening? Like, what's going on here?
I heard comments from several people saying they had to watch it multiple times to like pinpoint all the like sort of twists and turns. Because
at one point in that conversation, he's laughing and she's laughing, and they seem like they have a fine rapport.
She's such a bubbly, smiley person, except for when she's being emotionally beaten down by by her like.
And then all of a sudden, she's telling him like, "I need more affection," and he's like, "This is your problem, not my problem." Like all of a sudden, it feels like it turned.
It was a turn,
and it was. Then they're broken up.
It's kind of trash, and he reminds me of the Jeremy thing. Just break up. Yeah. You don't need to gaslight somebody and be really kind of emotionally horrible. Some people are like, this gaslighting type thing that can leave scars that can impact you for a long time, depending on how bad it is.
And the frustrating thing to me is it could have literally been a conversation where he sat her down, and whatever the issue is, whether it's what he talked about with AD about having to integrate their lives, knowing that they come from two entirely different racial backgrounds, and that's going to be incredibly difficult, especially for him. Like, he could have just sat her down and told her that. Like, he thought it was going to be okay, and he was wrong. Or if it's not that, if it's something else, he wasn't attracted to her, or he didn't feel a spark between the two of them, or whatever. Like, he could have addressed any of what it was, and it could have been a really short conversation. She doesn't seem to me to be the kind of person that would have like begged him to stay. I think she would have been sad, but she was sad anyway.
Yeah, she was a very mature person emotionally. Yeah. I also want to say, I want to take back everything, because like one of those first episodes, I was like, I'm kind of afraid of her maybe like viewing things as like being colorblind. Well, she seemed to have a really good handle of like race and stuff. I think when I got a little uncomfortable when she was like identify, or he identifies as a black man, because I don't usually hear that kind of phrasing, but I think that's also the kind of phrasing that a lot of like kids learn in school these days. Like, I identify as a white male, and like I think she was just using kind of official language. So I think I was like nervous that she was like gonna kind of like not value his race enough, when it's quite the opposite. And apparently she has dated like other black men in the past, so it's not a thing that's really uncomfortable for her
and
at
she
all.
Seemed comfortable talking about things with him and open to the conversation.
She did. There was a moment where I was like, oh damn, her ability to handle this like conversation about race and about the way AD approached him, she handled that like amazingly.
Yeah, she did. She handled it really well.
She came off like almost borderline perfect on the show for me.
Yeah, she was really great. Yeah. I do also, we have to issue a correction here too. So there are like the two factual corrections.
Oh, what's
and
the other one?
This is the second. And that is that we both did not realize that Britney and Kenneth were not having sex.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah,
we were both thinking,
we had no idea.
No,
I mean we're not Christian. We never have been, so that's never been a perspective of ours. So I don't immediately think. I
think also like,
they also said it. I think
we talk a lot, so sometimes we talk through some of the things that were happening. And I think I had misattributed. There was like a conversation between a few of the ladies on the honeymoon, being like, "We had sex," and I thought she
it was most
part
of them,
but
Britney.
Yeah,
Britney
and
Amy.
She wasn't in that group group of people. So Kenneth waking her up at 1:30 in the morning, honestly, even weirder for me.
Yeah, a lot of people were like, wait, so they corrected us, and they're like, so it was really literally over nothing. And that's why it's like, I'm like, it's an act of war. Like, it's like,
if you're not waking her up to have sex, like, what do you expect? She's gonna wake up and she's gonna like cuddle
that
you
makes
in
it so much weirder.
full spectrum light at like 1:30 in the morning when she has to wake up at 5.
That's crazy.
No, so for me, that literally, like, I apologize because that was a bad thing for us to not get correct, and we were very wrong about that. But if anything, it just makes the situation weirder for me, and it makes it even more feel like he was trying to do something that was going to cause tension between the two of them.
He could have just walked. He's a principal, though, and it's weird because I think sometimes some of these people in here are trying to do things so they don't look bad, and they end up looking worse.
Right.
Last thing we're gonna try and tackle is the bean dip situation, which is like heinous for so many reasons, honestly.
Yeah. And I think we were both shocked and kind of appalled while it was happening, but there were like layers to that situation that as two white people, we did not feel or understand to like the depths that other people understood,
particularly
and felt that.
There were a number of people that identified as black women that in the comments that were like, you don't know unless you've lived this experience how bad that is, or if you educate yourself. And as people talked about this, I'm like, yeah, I've actually have heard these things before. It's like you can still pick up on things even if you don't live that experience, like how kind of heinous this was.
Yeah.
One thing we didn't say on the screen, but like very much is like something that I think is that it is like sexual assault. What she was doing to, what Laura was doing to AD, and what she gave Jeremy permission to do to AD's body. That's sexual assault. You like grabbing people's privates. Like you teach middle school kids not to touch each other inappropriately. These are like borderline 30-year-old adults that are touching each other's privates. And in like in the way AD described it, violent ways.
Unless you have, and I think someone said this, like we didn't see that footage, so it's hard to know whether like consent was given for that kind of behavior. But if it wasn't, it's just like deeply problematic that Laura felt that she had the ability to touch AD in that kind of a way. Yeah, and then I completely agree, whether it was a joke or not, for her to say then to her partner that he should do the same thing to her is like really, really gross. Yeah. Really gross.
It's really gross.
Yeah.
Here's Brie Mode. Saying Laura's it's giving small child vibes comment made me so angry. I think us too. We probably saw it on there. She's off. And the objectification / fetishization of the only black woman by the other couples in this episode is extremely uncomfy. I mean, they're using some terminology from the show to like kind of like I think take down the energy of the reality of this. But like, I mean, that's a good synopsis.
Yeah, I think it's weird because watching it was strange. Yeah. And then, I mean, like uncomfortable to a degree that you just shouldn't feel while you're watching a show like this.
I think some people like were like very affected by this. And this is what actually made me think of the idea for this episode, because I was reading these comments that night that I posted and I started feeling like really horrible for other people, and I was like, if I'm feeling this bad, I can only imagine how other people are feeling.
Well, and then a lot of people took the time to kind of make comments that helped educate people that like maybe didn't see this from a first watch or weren't as affected by it in our comments. And it's like, that's emotional labor and like mental labor that you put into something that like you really shouldn't have to, but I'm just very grateful that like you did, frankly. And I think you can see from like the number of upvotes and the number of replies and kind of like the conversations that have gone on, like how impactful that was for a lot of people that saw it. I think there's like some level of conversation too around like, you know, it turned into this like inside joke because like AD was okay with it. And it's hard for me to understand whether she was okay with it or whether she's on a show where she kind of like has to like put up like a front and like she has to be okay with it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because if you're in a situation where like Laura is doing this and then who knows how many other people were thinking that it was funny or like participating in that. I mean, that's not a particularly safe environment for you to be like, please don't touch me. you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's, it's just, I don't know.
We saw the accountability was handled.
Yeah.
So like,
Right.
if AD had treated that with the seriousness that it deserved, which is, don't touch me, what the are you doing?
Yeah.
Frankly, like, that could become an escalation that is, if it is unsafe for anybody, it's unsafe for AD.
Yeah.
Because that's the reality of our country.
Well, and you see when AD comes to her and is just like, hey, like, Clay is upset.
Yeah.
And then Laura says, it's giving children, it's giving small child vibes. And AD is like, well, no. Like, he has a right to be upset. And AD's treating Laura very gently in those moments. And Laura is not accepting any accountability at all.
Yeah.
Is putting it on Clay, is putting it on Jeremy, is like blaming everyone else around her. She is not accepting that, and in like a very strong way. She was not open to that, like her being wrong or having that conversation at all. I think it's important, and I think a couple of the people in the comments, including Frogfoot89 and others, are kind of calling out the fact that, like what you're saying, it was not isolated to one person. Like, unfortunately, what AD had to deal with that entire night was being objectified and fetishized by multiple people in that house, being put in awkward situation after awkward situation, to the point of, at the end of the night, it being something that had to do with like someone touching her inappropriately who she doesn't know.
Yeah.
And I mean, between Jimmy and Chelsea, Jimmy making the wildly inappropriate comment about her body. It's one thing to walk up to
somebody
someone,
looks good.
You
We
look
talked about
great.
this.
You look
great.
amazing. Like, you know, I'm so glad to meet you, whatever. This is the first time he's meeting her. And what he says to his current partner is, wow, that girl, he doesn't even remember her name, is stacked.
Yeah.
Which is just
well, and then
unnecessary.
People have made the comment too that Laura and Chelsea, so he objectified her body, and then Chelsea called it out across the way. And then Laura is obviously like implicated in this whole thing with the bean dip thing. It was almost half the women were involved with this, and multiple men at this point, all around AD's body.
Yeah.
It was kind of horrifying to watch.
Well, and you can tell that Jimmy immediately, so Chelsea yells it out. In my opinion, what happened is Chelsea feels uncomfortable with what Jimmy said. Probably doesn't fully understand like the extent to which she feels uncomfortable about it. Decides that the appropriate thing is to yell at AD across the dance floor, the comment that Jimmy said, and Jimmy immediately feels embarrassed, as he should, because he realizes that what he said was inappropriate, and that if AD heard what he said, he then now feels terrible about it. Chelsea never should have made that public.
Yeah.
And it mirrors the Laura and Jeremy situation strongly, because it is very similar. In the Laura and Jeremy situation, Laura did something wildly inappropriate that she should never have done, and then told her partner about it. And then Jeremy didn't have the common sense not to bring it up in front of people, and then immediately when he did, realized the harm that he'd caused and felt like an idiot for even bringing it up. But like, you have multiple people that are just, there's no need when you first meet someone to treat them in that kind of a way. And it's really unfortunate that it was 4 people at that meet and greet that were all complicit in objectifying AD. It's really, really disgusting. Yeah. Like, on a lot of levels. I think for me, I appreciate the people that are willing to come in and say, I'm Black and this is how I feel about this. This is how it affected me. Because I think it's helpful to hear your perspective on something that I'm sure you just were not probably expecting to see that on TV, and that's what you got on a show that you enjoy watching. And
I know, it's supposed to be entertainment.
Sucks.
It's supposed to be fun.
In this case, like a TV show, and you know, the like real world implications of a really intense event that happened on that TV show. And then honestly, the rest of us, because it's public, that get to read it, benefit from that conversation. And
I personally benefited from these conversations.
Yeah, me too.
And it's hard to like do all the editing, and we've been doing the one video a day has been a little challenging, but like then looking at the comments and stuff, but I go back to it constantly because I'm really excited to see what people say, because I'm learning through this, and I'm becoming hopefully a better person through it. And like, this is why there's a comment that was like, you know, people don't want to watch these trash TV shows with me. And I'm like, this is why I'm kind of excited to do this channel, because we get to laugh, we get to have fun, but then we have to get to talk about big stuff. So because we are white and we can only like share people's comments rather than actually talk about it from like a personal experience, like I just wanted to ask if anybody made it this far and wanted to share in the comments, like any black content creators that might have a more nuanced opinion on this. I don't know. I know a lot of you are watching like multiple videos, or you got a ton of different accounts, and it'd be cool if you wanted to hear from each other as far as like any channels to like check out or follow regarding this content.
And we'll go ahead and put 2 that I watch on a regular basis up on the screen that both do either have done currently or will do in the future because they have in the past. Love is Blind content that are good perspectives to get a different viewpoint than ours.
It's not always going to be this heavy.
Some of it was Julia Fox ruining everything for all of us.
I think the nature of what happened this last week, or was it 2 weeks ago at this point on Love is Blind? I don't even know what time it is anymore.
A week and a half ago.
A week and a half ago on Love is Blind, what happened sort of necessitated it to be heavier. It definitely would not always be this case, especially depending on the show.
Right.
Yeah.
So these can be really light and really fun episodes, and then sometimes they're really intense because people are going through real world things and dealing with big issues, and we're watching along while they're doing that.
Yeah. You gotta drop the mic. Fucking done. Don't though, because we bought a new one because the other one is damaged.
We bought a new one. Yeah, I'm not gonna drop it.
Okay. Well, like we said, we're going to do a 1K Q&A, so please throw some questions down in the comments if you want us to answer them. Anything else?
If you like this video, please click the like button. If you want to see more content like this, other Love is Blind stuff, Bachelor stuff, other Netflix shows,
Hulu
subscribe.
occasionally.
Hulu occasionally, right. Whatever. Sometimes we're random. American Horror Story.
Not Lifetime because they copyright everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Please subscribe. And if you want your comments or are okay with your comments being featured in a video like this in the future, please let us know in the comment. And if you don't let us know and we want to use it, we'll reach out to you, and we will only publish people's usernames if they are comfortable being featured. Otherwise, we may put your words up on the screen, but we won't add your username to it. So if you want credit for your great ideas, let us know that we can use it. Thank you for watching with us. Thank you for helping us get to 1,000 subs. I literally cannot even believe that it's real life. Like I cannot believe that it's real life. It's so cool. I know we're still a tiny channel compared to a lot of other channels, but for us, it feels really big. So just really want to thank you for all the time that you've spent with us, and just know we're going to have a whole bunch more content coming soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
And then I got it knocked, and I started going,
Ridiculous.
oh, that was a tearjerker.
Hey, we're gonna go on a cruise this summer. You should come with us.